Hello, my name is Calvin from Defund the BBC. I have the pleasure of being joined today by Lee Anderson MP. Lee, you are the MP for my neighbouring area. My first job was in Ashfield, actually, so it's a pleasure to have you on today. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kelvin. It's an absolute pleasure to be joining you.
So you were elected in December last year as the Conservative Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and you're a staunch supporter of Brexit. You've got some strong views on the BBC's coverage over the last few years. So what do you make of the current coverage of the negotiations? Has the BBC got Britain's back?
So I would say that my own feelings and my own views on Brexit on the BBC are pretty much representative of my area. It's an area where I grew up. It's an area where I speak to people every single week. So what I'm saying to you and what I say normally through my social media or through any media outlet is actually what my constituents are thinking. But in relation to Brexit, it's no secret that over the past 4 or 5 years, the BBC have probably done everything in their power to alienate the Leave supporters in my area. They've made them feel stupid. They've accused them of being thick, racist, not knowing what they voted for. So that same constant narrative over the past 4 or 5 years has done nothing but harm, actually, to the BBC. I don't know what they're playing at because, let me tell you, people are switching off in their droves. They're ripping their TV licenses up. I've cancelled mine. I won't be paying another penny to the BBC. As far as I'm concerned, they can take a running jump.
Good man. That's what I like to hear. We often ask politicians whether they think the BBC represents their constituency. It sounds clear from what you just said that you don't. And we usually ask, what do your constituents think? But you've actually been out there and asked your constituents. You turned to social media and you said, do you think the BBC represents great value for money and offers an unbiased media outlet? And do you think that the license fee needs scrapping? What did the people of Ashfield say? What was your response? What was their response?
Overwhelmingly, over 90% agree with me. You look back to the BBC when I was growing up in the 70s, and the BBC was a place of safety, a place of comfort, a place of education. It's a place. It's a channel which you switched on, and everything was everything was good. There was good education programs, good documentaries, unbiased news, impartial news reading, and everything was good. You felt safe watching the BBC. It was a part of our lives. It was a part of growing up. But you know what? It's gone from being anti-Beeb in the 70s to anti-establishment or anti-government, anti-Brexit, anti-working class people. There's so many antis in there, which it's become over the past few years. And this is because, obviously, we've got this liberal elite that work for the BBC. They say things like we've got to spend £100 million on diversity training. But I tell you what, I've got a better idea. How about you people who's saying we should spend £100 million of taxpayers' money? How about you give your jobs up and give your jobs up from people from more diverse backgrounds? They won't be queuing up to do that, will they, Kelvin?
They weren't at all. So, that raises a good point, though. You talk about how you used to appreciate the BBC and how it's changed a lot. What has changed? What are the fundamental differences?
Well, the fundamental differences are you had normal people probably earning a little bit more than a decent wage back in the 70s, 80s, and now it's become like a celebrity cult, really, where they peddle out this left-wing nonsense. They're all probably they probably are privately educated. They're probably champagne socialists, which I know a lot of them are. They've got this left-wing agenda. They hate Boris. They hate the government. They think they're far too intellectual to have voted Brexit. And they're using their own personal experiences and feelings to peddle out their own narrative through the media. And the BBC should be bigger than that.
Yeah, fair enough. And so one of the arguments we hear in favour of the BBC is that people say, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so we need the BBC to provide the nation with government statements and updates on COVID-19 and rules around lockdowns. What's your view on that?
Well, it's absolute rubbish. Now, I used to watch the evening updates of the BBC, and the BBC should represent the views of the great British people. Now, as an MP, I switch my computer on every morning, and I look at the 300 or 400 questions. It was a lot more during lockdown and during the start of the pandemic, and what people are actually asking me as their representative. And people are asking me, when can I see my granddad? When can I go to a care home? When can my kids go back to school? These were the normal questions people were asking me as an MP. Nothing like the questions the BBC were asking on the nightly updates, it was quite clear when you listen to people from the BBC asking the Prime Minister or ministers questions. They're asking questions to try and embarrass, try and catch you out, and stuff like that. It's nothing like the questions I was being asked. So, they should have come to us, and I quite liked it when the Prime Minister in the end started letting members of the public ask questions, because they were the real questions. The BBC, the all mainstream media have their own agenda, and the whole agenda is to try and catch government out. That's it.
Absolutely. They're playing this gotcha politics style of journalism that's, it's like you say, they're not talking to real people and asking real questions.
No.
For me, the thing is that they went back on their word as well, on the deal with the government for the license fee for over 75s. Back in 2015, then Director General Tony Hall said it was a strong deal for the BBC. And now they're trying to pin the blame on the government. What are your feelings about that?
Well, it's an absolute scandal. I've written to the Director General on this very matter, as have other MPs, other Conservative MPs. And when you think you've got people like Gary Lineker earning, nearly £2 million, you've got another radio presenter, whatever her name is, just had £1 million a year pay rise. Then they're talking to some poor old pensioner in my patch that's only got, 2 eighties to rub together. They're saying, you know what, you're 75, here's a birthday present for your 76. Start paying for your TV licence again. Meanwhile, we've got these idiots presenting football who are all multi-millionaires anyway. They wouldn't get a job in the normal world, but they have them sat around the table on a Saturday night talking nonsense about football. They need to shut up and go and get a proper job.
I'm with you 100%. So the BBC are paying out these huge salaries for these stars, and that obviously doesn't sit well with the elderly, like you just said, who have been asked to now pay for these large salaries. And you've had a bit of a run-in with Gary Lineker, haven't you? What do you make of the Director General's rules on political posts on social media by BBC staff? Is Gary...
Well, I see Mr. Lineker's still at it. He was promoting wearing masks last week, saying we should wear them when we're out in public, when we're out in the shops. And just yesterday, he was caught without a mask. I don't know. Maybe he was scoffing a bag of crisps or something like that. I don't know. But, it's just more BBC liberal hypocrisy from people who tell us what to do. They're very good at trying to educate us. But when it comes to actually doing it themselves, they don't pay us no attention. Absolute hypocrisy at the highest level. And you're right, I did call Gary Lineker out a few months back about the illegal crossings. And he, to be fair to him, he did say he would house an illegal refugee, but that's not happened as far as I know. I'm pretty sure that if it would have happened, that would have been on the front of the paper. But, it's just more shallow words, more BBC hypocrisy. They've actually got us for mugs. And the sooner we get rid of the TV licence and have a subscription service, then the better.
Yeah, that's a good point. So one of our aims at Defund the BBC is decriminalising.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because not having a TV licence should not be a criminal offence. The real criminals are the people working for the BBC. People, like Gary Lineker, who's taking £2 million a year from the taxpayer. That's the real crime here, and we need to stop it.
Absolutely right. But the worry is that if we do decriminalise the licence fee, it will just move the issues of harassment and penalising some people from most vulnerable parts and poorest parts of society from the magistrates' courts into the hands of bailiffs. Are the MPs aware of that? Is there a way that you guys can address this situation?
Yeah, we are aware of that, and that's something that will have to be raised in Parliament. But it will actually, when it comes to that, it will show the mettle of the BBC when they start dragging 90-year-old people through the courts for 150 quid, whilst paying their executives God knows how much money, paying TV presenters £2 million a year, paying radio presenters £2 million a year. Yet let's take, 95-year-old Sid from Ashfield to court to get 157 quid off him. That'll show what they're made of.
Absolutely. I find that there's still a lot of confusion around what is and isn't covered by this license fee that people are forced to pay. Basically, it covers all live TV, whether it's Channel 4, ITV, French TV, it doesn't matter. As long as it's live, we're paying the BBC for that privilege. Surely the scope of the BBC's charter should be reduced in a digital age to just cover BBC content. Yeah,
absolutely agree with you, Calvin. Yeah, they've got a monopoly. They control everything we watch. Back in the day, we used to complain about Murdoch one time a day, 15, 20 years ago, that he controlled everything that we read, everything that we saw on TV, everything that we heard on radio. The BBC's got a bit of a monopoly at the moment. And, it's a good job we've got social media these days, or else this country would be a different place. Thank goodness for Facebook and Twitter sometimes, because people can actually go out there and find out information for themselves, and thank God for the internet. So the BBC, although they think they can influence decisions, influence outcomes of elections, they've not been very good at it. They didn't influence the outcome of the Brexit vote, and they didn't influence the outcome of the last general election in December. And I'm living proof of that.
Yeah, fair play. So talking of BBC content, Roadkill, the new BBC political drama, have you watched it? And
yeah, I watched it back to back. I thought it was very good.
So you didn't think it was a bit libelous because it's just portraying?
Exactly that point. I think it's a veiled attack at my party, but it just anybody with any common sense can watch it. I think that's just the BBC being nasty again. But it was a great program. In fact, I watched an episode in bed this morning before I come to work. It's really good. But I thought on my way to work, you know what? It was very good, very well acted, good plot, good story. But it was just a nasty, spiteful attempt by the BBC to undermine government. In fact, the story was anybody could become prime minister. That was the story.
Yeah, but they're exposing their political bias again, aren't they?
Yeah,
and you've mentioned that before.
Absolutely.
So just to wrap up, where do you think we need to go from here? What needs to happen to the BBC in order to make it fair again?
Well, we need to defund it. As simple as that. It needs to become a subscription service where people have a choice. And I think the BBC TV licence, the BBC per se, is the only product in this country I can think of where you're forced to buy it. You don't have a choice. You are literally forced to buy a product. I can't think of any other product where that happens. And that's not right.
Absolutely. Lee Anderson, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.